Welcome back, friends, to Washington Watch. My name is Joseph Backholm, sitting in for Tony today. So glad that you are spending some time with us this evening. Earlier today, the Department of Defense revealed its latest updates to an anti-extremism policy under which service members can now be punished for liking or retweeting content on social media that has, quote, the intent to promote or otherwise endorse extremist activities, end quote. Is this a prudent step to avoid extremism or an intrusion into the rights of service members? Joining me now to talk about it and more is FRC's Executive Vice President, Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin, who is one of the original members of the U.S. Army's Delta Force. He also spent the last 4 years of his 36-year military career serving as the Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence. General, good to see you.
It's good to be with you.
Well, first, do you have any sense of what they mean by extremist activities? Is that term defined?
Well, theoretically, it's defined in this document that was just put out, which is essentially a directive to all the military forces. But no, I think it's ill-defined. I think that's what I think they did that purposely. I think they did that so that they can come up with new categories as needed, as wanted. Listen, Joseph, during the Obama administration, they had the Defense Equal Opportunity Management Institute teaching tolerance and all these woke things. Then keep in mind, this goes back to Obama. And we got a photograph that was sent to us by someone that was in one of these classes. And it listed American Family Association as an extremist group. It listed AFA as a group that you had better stay away from them because you're jeopardizing your career if you don't. Now, I just ask you, as you look at this thing, because it's got all of this SOGI stuff in it, if we as the Family Research Council continue, as we will, to stand on biblical marriage as the standard for one man and one woman, then do you think it's possible that we're going to wind up being categorized as an extremist group? I can make that case because we've seen it before with the Obama administration.
I think that's a really good point. And to your point, part of the definition of extremist activities, and keep in mind, this is minutes old. It's within the last hour that this has really been made public. It says that part of the definition is, quote, advocating widespread unlawful discrimination based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, including pregnancy, gender identity, or sexual orientation. So arguably, on its face, looking at that definition, if you are advocating for example, traditional biblical marriage, under their definition, that would be widespread unlawful discrimination as they understand it. Now, the nature of the problem here, because on some level we oppose extremism, and we would all agree that there are some things that we would like not to see our service members talking about on social media or events that they would be attending. But senior defense officials admitted that there were fewer than 100 military members known to have been participating in extremist activity in the last year. Keep in mind, in 2020, there were over 481,000 active service members. Do you think that the size of the problem that they have identified warrants the response that's being provided?
No, not at all. And keep in mind, what you just gave was the Army number. There are other services. We've got a couple million people in uniform at least. And listen, this is bizarre because I find myself asking, is this administration deliberately trying to destroy our military? Are they trying to demoralize them to the point that people will leave our military? What are they trying to do? We've already seen in Afghanistan, and in the fiasco there in Afghanistan, we've already seen what this woke military has resulted in. Now, what we ought to be doing, and all our commanders at every level should be focused on war fighting, being ready to fight and win the nation's wars. But instead, I thought after Afghanistan that the Secretary of Defense and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs and all those commanders in the field would understand that they need to switch their focus back to readiness, being ready to fight and win the nation's wars. But this is evidence that this administration is determined to do something negative to our military. And for what reason, I cannot say.
To your point about strange priorities, another announcement today from the Air Force that they are now allowing the use of preferred pronouns in the signature blocks of emails. What do you make of this?
Where do you think that one's going to go? Have you already seen professors in universities get fired for not using the right pronoun? Do you think that's going to be the case in the military as well? What does that have to do with winning wars? Nothing. Nothing at all, but it's a detractor. And it is a demoralizer. And what we need is an army whose morale is high, who is ready to go face to face, toe to toe with the enemy, and is ready to win this nation's wars. And we are not focused on that at all with all of this nonsense that you see going on here as reflected in this new directive that came out today.
How long do you think it will be before the military allowing preferred pronouns in signature box becomes a requirement to list preferred pronouns in their signature blocks?
Oh, I don't know how long it'll be, but it will happen. It will happen. If Joe Biden lasts through 4 years, if he makes it through his 4 years, by the time he leaves office, it'll be mandatory, I'll bet you.
And the impact of that is what, do you think?
The impact of that is that the troops look at that, shake their head and say, I thought I came into the military. I thought I came in to be a warfighter or to be a warrior. And they look at this kind of nonsense and they say, our leadership can't be trusted. Our leadership is not focused on what is important to us as warriors. And I think it's going to be one more incremental step towards totally demoralizing our military.
And as with vaccine mandates, it's another way to identify those service members who may not be woke enough and then usher them out. That would certainly be a simple one. We hope that is not the case, but General Boykin, we appreciate your time with us today.
Good to be with you, Joseph.